Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another full day of fun gameplay streaming. Today is Sunday, the 17th of January, 2021, and I am Darkside Phil, and I welcome you here to my first of two fun gameplay streams today. Mixing up the schedule again. If you remember, last week we had a bunch of days that were all Ubisoft. It was like Assassin's Creed paired with Immortals Fenyx Rising. After doing that a couple times and basically being told that's way too much open world stuff in one day, you gotta mix it up, I shifted the schedule a couple days ago, so it's staggered stuff now, so it's not all the same constantly, alright? So, I'm excited for both streams today, although, admittedly, the late stream, we're gonna see what happens. It's gonna be kind of an experiment, alright? So, let's talk, my friends. Today's first gameplay stream is the end game of Yakuza 7. We are in the final chapter, alright, and we are basically roaming around all kinds of stuff. We're doing the last remnants of the side content in a Jin show, which is really what we focused on last time, with some of the stuff we were doing. We actually had wandered all of Kamurocho, which is the third and final map of the game. Then we went back to a Jin show. We changed jobs, changed characters, and then did the Dragon Kart Racing minigame. Now, I don't want to do more of that yet. I do want to finish it before the end of my playthrough, but we did so much of it last time that I definitely want to give it a rest. So I think what we're going to do today is we're going to head over to Kamurocho, and we are going to do the end game optional dungeon. From what I'm to understand, it's basically the final combat you can do before the actual story finale of the game. And the reason the dungeon exists is to prepare you for the final story finale of the game. It gives you a lot of levels and a lot of good items that you can then use to progress on and beat the game, okay? So, that's my main focus. Now, if we finish that, and there's extra time on today's stream, I'm all for going back, maybe doing more of the business Ichiban Holdings minigame and try to finish that, or do more of the dragon karting, etc. But, the focus of today is the optional dungeon, alright? So, I hope you guys understand that. This is not story development today at all. And you might say, well, I wonder how much longer Phil has in the game. From what I'm to understand, the final story segment is about 2 to 3 hours long. So whenever I want to beat the game, I can just say, okay, this stream will be the finale. We'll focus on just that and complete it. But this game is so damn good that I definitely don't want to miss out on all this other stuff. Okay, I just don't. So that's why we're going to be doing all this side stuff first. It's going to be a chill stream for sure. This stream will be open to a lot of interactions and just hanging out and having a conversation because there's not going to be any story development. It's going to be all combat, dungeon crawling, and basically side missions, okay? So I hope you guys will enjoy the stream, especially if you've liked the rest of the playthrough up to now. You should definitely enjoy this stream because it's going to be one of those chill streams, all right? Now, later tonight, the late stream is Immortals Fenyx Rising at 6:45 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, this is the make or break stream for the game, and let me explain why. When I first started the game, I thought it was okay, and then I did 2 more late night streams that I thought were quite good. You guys were giving me feedback saying this is like the ultimate late night chill stream game. It's open world exploring, parkour, puzzles, combat. And I was getting new abilities that were making me even better at the game, you know, especially fighting the bigger enemies. I was doing giant chunks of damage to them, which is really cool now. The dungeons, the puzzle dungeons are quite good, but then also there's exploration outdoor puzzles to do. It's basically Breath of the Wild plus. Like, it really feels like they took the formula of Zelda Breath of the Wild and improved upon it a lot, okay? So, I was enjoying it, but then the last time I played it a couple days ago, the feedback seemed to completely change. People were basically telling me that they were bored, that the game wasn't holding interest, and a lot of people were not interacting with me. It was very disappointing, to be honest. Like, it was the complete opposite of the experience I had had the last couple of Immortal streams. And then, of course, being honest, the contributions were very slow, and the feedback I got was, you should do something else. And that was disappointing, because after playing it a few times, and it was growing on me, and I was starting to like the game more and more, especially with the new abilities I was unlocking, I'm not quite sure what happened that last stream. Alright? So tonight is basically going to be the stream where we test the waters one final time. If people tune in, we hang out, we have a fun, chill stream, then I'll keep doing it. But if people, again, give me feedback saying, nah, this is just boring, then maybe we won't. Now, tonight, I am going to advance the story a bit. That's my goal, is to try to advance the story some. So, hopefully, that will maybe help out in some way. But I guess we'll see what happens tonight. Okay? So, if you've liked the playthrough and you want to support it, come tonight, for sure. Come and hang out with me on that late stream. Alright? Let me know you really like this game and you want to see it continue. Alright? Now, if we don't continue Immortals, there's many things we can do. The number one thing I'm thinking of is to try out that game Maneater, which is one of the free for PS Plus games this month. It's a game that came out last year and I missed out on it. Didn't play it. And I'd be maybe interested in checking it out. Okay? So, we could jump in and have that start being a late night stream. Okay? But we'll see what happens tonight. Alright? We'll see what happens tonight. Okay. Tomorrow, my final streaming day or consecutive streaming day of the week, it's going to be more Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And for those who've been following the playthrough, you already know this, but maybe you guys haven't. We just finished up the second major side quest line of the game, which is Jotunheim. So there's this whole Asgardian side mission thing where the main character, Ivor, who's a Viking, goes into these visions and does this mythological gameplay, which is so odd because it feels like it's disjointed from the rest of the game. I still don't understand really what it has to do with the rest of the game, honestly. But anyway, we did the second of 3 of those. We finished that off. And now, we can head back to the main story, and we're going to head to a new area and continue on with the main plot. It actually looks like we're starting to get near the end of the game, because I think there's only 3 story areas left in the entire game, and we're working on one right now. So if that is the case, that's good. It means that maybe within the next couple of weeks, we'll actually finish the damn game. Okay? That's obviously good stuff if we do. Okay? So that's tomorrow. Tomorrow night, it'll be a final Black Ops Cold War multiplayer stream to end the streaming week. Alright? I'm off from streaming on Tuesday, as usual. When I return on Wednesday, it will be Hitman 3 premiering here live on the stream. Excited for that. I liked the last 2 Hitman games. This one I'll be playing on PS5, which will probably mean improved graphical performance. I hope it's on par with the last 2, if not better. That should be fun. Alright? Then on Wednesday night, it's actually up in the air. Because if tonight, Immortals Phoenix Rising goes well, then I'll keep playing it, and it'll be the chill late night stream for that night. If not, and people determine that's it for Immortals, we want to see something else, then maybe I'll start up something new like Maneater or something. Okay? Thursday is going to be Yakuza 7. Now, it very well may be the final Yakuza 7 stream, depending on how we do today. Do we finish this endgame dungeon? Do we actually do more of the side content like the dragon carding or the Ichiban holdings? Like, how much do we get done today? Determined by that will determine, you know, what's going to happen on Thursday, okay? But likely it'll be a Yakuza 7 stream. Maybe it'll be the final Yakuza 7 stream on Thursday. Thursday night will be Black Ops Cold War, all right? Then on Friday, it'll be Assassin's Creed Valhalla paired with my weekly throwback Street Fighter session. And that means Hitman will continue on Saturday. And again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because it might be more Immortals. It could be Maneater. I don't know what I'm doing Saturday night. All right, we'll just see what happens this week. Okay? Fair enough? All right. There you go. That's what to expect. Excuse me. So outside of all of that, what else is going on? Well, as you guys know, you are currently nominating your favorite moments from my 12 plus years of history as a content creator for an upcoming retrospective event. All right. And I hope that you guys will continue to nominate said moments. I need as many as I possibly can get. All right. Please nominate by typing !retrospective into the stream chat. Or you can also just wait every 20 minutes or so, and then a link will pop up in the stream chat for you guys. All right, so I hope that you will do that. That event is going to take place either the very end of this month or early next month, depending on the timing of game releases and how far I am in this current playthroughs and the like, but it's happening sooner rather than later. Okay? So please keep doing that. Now also, coming up, there's going to be a viewer's choice gameplay event where you guys are going to be able to nominate and vote on a game for me to do a full playthrough of here on the streams. Yesterday, I presented an idea. My idea is thus: instead of it just being open nominations, we narrow it down a bit to something that's kind of cool. A retro replay event where you guys will nominate a game that I played more than 5 years ago. Basically, a game that I've already played, but it was before 2016. Okay? A game that likely when I played it, it was a very different style of gameplay that I did back then. If it's before 2013, it would mean it wasn't even direct capture, which means it probably looked like shit and sounded like shit. All right, it's an opportunity for me to go back and replay a cult classic that you guys maybe liked. All right, you know, there's many opportunities here. Maybe there's a game that you saw me play once, you liked it so much you want to see it again, but in the modern interactive style that I do here on my streams, right? Or maybe you feel that the playthrough that I did wasn't actually that good, that I kind of sucked at it, and you'd like to actually see me redo a playthrough. Okay, so there you go. I'm basically open to reasoning of why people would want to see me replay an older game like that. Okay, so that could be pretty good, I think. Now, we don't have to do that, but yesterday, the overall feedback when I presented this idea is that this makes sense because when I don't have themed Viewer's Choice events, sadly, it's too open. People can't agree on what they want, and it usually ends up being some weird game that, you know, takes 80 hours to beat, and no one's satisfied. So instead, actually focusing it in on a certain kind of theme might actually spice it up a bit and get people more excited to nominate and try to campaign for certain games. All right? Like right now, I see some people who are saying things like, oh man, I'd love to see Phil replay Skyrim. I'd like to see Phil replay Chrono Trigger or Earthbound. Yesterday, people were like, Metal Gear Solid 1 for sure, because they've always wanted to see me replay that game. You see? So there you go. Let's see. But the thing is, the nominations aren't open yet. They're not going to be open until we get through the retrospective event. Then the nominations will open for Viewer's Choice. So there's no reason to get ahead of ourselves here. We have a while to talk about this and see, you know, what you guys want. All right? So let's see what happens. All right? Let's see what happens and go from there. But please think about it. Think about, gee, if it was going to be a retro replay playthrough, what kind of a game would I like to see Phil do? Okay? Frog and King second, maybe scroll up and use your eyes. Who said Chrono Trigger besides Phil? I just read it out of the stream chat. Where do you think I pulled it from? My ass? Boy, some people are stupid. Anyway, so that's the idea. Now, one final idea that I presented yesterday for the first time. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, we are very closely approaching 100,000 total followers here on my Twitch channel. Okay? This is a milestone of growth. And it shows consistent growth because of the last few years, I basically grow by anywhere from, say, 8,000 to 12,000 followers a year, roughly. Some years are slower, some years are faster. Last year, it was over 12,000 new followers here on Twitch, which was awesome. Like I said, last year was a really good year for me for my streams. I mean, they grew for sure, okay? So that being said, when we hit 100,000 followers here on Twitch, it's a celebration, but what should we do? I'm debating, you know, what kind of things should we do? Should we do a special celebration stream, or should we do some kind of a change? I don't know. You know, I'm open to your suggestions on what you would like to see me do for celebrate 100,000 subs. It's funny because when you hit, excuse me, I said subs. You hear what I said? The reason I said that is because when you hit 100,000 subs on YouTube, you get a play button. This cool play button that they send you. And I've had that for a decade. Yeah, my DSPGaming channel on YouTube has had 100,000 subs for like a decade. So I've had the play button here forever. But Twitch doesn't do shit. But I figure, hey, why not I do something, fun? Okay? So, let's see. If you guys come up with some good ideas of things that you would like to see me do to celebrate 100,000 followers here on Twitch, I'm open to suggestion. All right? Alrighty then. Alright, so there you go. That's basically what's going on with my channels and everything. I don't really have much else to talk about in regards to that. I think that's a good cumulative update on all of that. So, before we move on to gaming news and then to shout-outs, what I would like to do is say thank you guys for all of your support because, as you guys know, I am an independent content creator. Alright? I do not have any exclusive contract to get paid just to stream on any streaming service like most of the top streamers have. I don't have any sponsorships with any company. I don't get paid to advertise or shill for anybody. And because of that, that means a couple things. First of all, it means that I get to be completely open and honest with all of you on every single one of my streams When you watch me stream a game, you get to hear my live, honest opinions on whatever I'm playing. I don't have to pull punches. I don't have to sugarcoat anything. And quite frankly, I feel, and this is the feedback that you've given me over the years, this is the reason why I've had 12 plus years of longevity. Because I didn't bend the knee and basically give in to all those trends in order to make an extra buck like everyone else. Instead, I'm completely independent. I exist because of you and your crowdfunding efforts. I don't have to worry after a stream, oh God, did I say or do something that now I'm going to lose a sponsor and now I can't make a living anymore? No, because you guys support me enough that I get to enjoy what I do for a living. And I'm super grateful for that, guys. I hope you know that. I hope you understand that, you know, this whole thing, this is a give and take relationship where the only reason that I'm here is because of you. And, you know, you guys get entertainment from the streams and reciprocate. And I really appreciate that, all right? I hope you guys know that I'm so grateful for the fact that you guys support what I do, and every single day you show up, you hang out with me, you support the streams, all right? So, that being said, before I even mention a single way that you can actually contribute to the streams, I want you to understand, contributions to my streams are not mandatory, nor are they expected, all right? I consider it that you're going above and beyond being a stream viewer to actually contribute to my streams, all right? But by all means, if you can contribute, please do. I appreciate that, and it's the reason why I'm still here. It's the reason why I can afford to keep doing this for a living without having any of the major corporate sponsorship and or special exclusivity arrangements that the other full-time streamers get, okay? Very good. Now, if you would like to contribute, there are many ways that you can. You can cheer with bits. You can subscribe to my channel. You can tip me. All right? You could gift a sub to somebody else on the stream. That's a nice way to give a nice present to someone else and, you know, say do something nice for someone. By the way, I should bring up the fact that you can do all those things anonymously. You do not have to actually reveal your identity or anything like that. You can do all of those things anonymously if you so choose. All right? Now, in particular, the best way to contribute and help me out the most would be by tipping me, because tips are something that I get immediately. It's something that I can put towards something important like the cost of a game or a bill or taxes behind the scene, and it allows me to have fluidity with finances. Now, I'm not saying that cheering or subbing don't help. They absolutely do. But those methods of contribution take a while for me to see any they take a while for me to see any positive benefit. There's a processing time before I see anything from those. While tips, immediately I can do something with important if I need to. Okay? That's why I prefer tipping over any other method of contribution. So, I appreciate all contributions, but if you have the choice to determine, gee, how can I contribute to help Phil today, tipping would be the way to go. All right? Now, a few things to help you guys out and help protect you from online harassment and fraud. All right? Number one, I strongly recommend, if you are going to be a regular here on my streams or if you're planning on contributing at all, do your best to hide your real life identity. Disassociate your online persona from your real life identity. The reason I say that is because sadly there are so many malicious parties out there on the internet. They will do whatever they can to harass people and get away with it through the anonymous nature of the internet just because they can. It's not because they get anything out of it. It's just that, hey, I can get away with it. I can mess with someone. I'll do it. So the first recommendation I make to everyone, turn off your open direct messages on Twitch. That is an avenue for harassment. They are very frequently used to harass people on Twitch. In fact, it's one of the major reasons why people even still have them open. I have my direct messages set up so that only people on my friends list can message me, and it helps dramatically. I never get harassed because no one can message me. All right? I also strongly recommend do not have a Twitch name that is the same as a name on any of your other social media accounts, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., and certainly not your real life name. All right? People will find a way to associate that with you in real life and try to harass you if they can. They're messed up, you know, pretty messed up that way. You don't want that to happen to you. Trust me, you don't. Now, if you are considering tipping me, which again, this is the best way you can contribute, and I appreciate those who do and are looking forward or are looking to maybe do so today. All right. I strongly recommend you create a verified PayPal account. All right. The way this works is basically when you are going to send me a contribution via a tip, what it does is it gives protections, let's say, against fraud online. When you create a verified PayPal account, it'll ask for certain information. For example, you can link your address and bank account, or you can actually provide a picture of your ID to prove that you are who you say you are. All right. The reason this is important is because when you do that, when you make that verified PayPal account, you are protected from fraud. There's both buyer and seller protections via PayPal that you now get because you have that in place. No one can screw with you. No one will be able to, send fake payments and the like. And this is the problem, is that sadly to me, over the last 4 months, I've gotten a dramatic amount, hundreds upon hundreds of fake credit card tips that have then gotten charged back. Not only does the money get taken away, but it messes with my PayPal account in a big way behind the scenes. There's fees and things associated with this, to the point where I just couldn't have it as open contributions anymore. I just can't. I can't just accept any tip because it's too much of a liability for my business. All right? When you make that verified PayPal account, it creates those protections against that. All right? Both for you and me. Because if you're going to use PayPal, it protects you from fraud as well. So it benefits you to just take the couple extra minutes to do it. And by the way, don't worry. No, your private information that you provide to PayPal does not get doxed. It doesn't get given out to people like me who you're tipping. That's ridiculous. If that happened, PayPal could be sued for millions of dollars for giving away your private information. That would never happen. All right? Case in point, last night I was streaming Call of Duty, and there were a few people who stepped into the stream chat who wanted to support me, but they all had unverified PayPal accounts, and I had to refund, no lie, something like $140 of tips. That's money that I could have used to help the business, money that I could have used to pay taxes and bills behind the scenes, and I had to refund all of it because I can't take on that liability. All right? I appreciate those who want to support the streams, but you have to understand, I have to do what's right to protect myself, my business, my family. I can't have fake stuff coming in. All right? So, please, if you are going to be a supporter of the streams, I urge you, create that verified PayPal account. That's the way that I will know that your tip is legit. By the way, it also massively streamlines my streams. I don't have to constantly be doing tip audits. Oh, gee, is this tip real? I have to now go on to PayPal and see if it's real, and if it's not, if it's unverified, now I have to ask, is this person in the stream chat, are you real? Can you, you know what I mean? It's such a hassle. So if you could do that extra step, I would really appreciate that. All right, guys? Thank you very much for that. All right. Now, I got a burp coming. Oh, excuse me. Okay. I got a burp coming. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, game news today, there's not a lot, but the one piece of news that happened in the last 24 hours, the major news, is that CDPRs Red, yes, we're going to talk about this again. They responded to a news article from Bloomberg. And that news article stated that basically the reason that Cyberpunk has had so many issues and the reason that Cyberpunk is a mess here at launch is because the studio overpromised, underdelivered, provided things that were completely dishonest. For example, that E3 2018 gameplay demo that we all saw, wasn't even real gameplay of the game. It was manufactured gameplay. It was not even the same game engine as the rest of the game. All right? And that's bad. They're basically, alleging so many things. Basically 20 employees, mostly former but one current employees of the company, stated that CD Projekt Red purposely deceived people. All right? Purposely. To make it look like the game was going to be something it wasn't. To make the game look better than it actually would be. This is not good. The news coming out of here. To tell me that this is supposed to be real in-game gameplay. And then come to find out it wasn't at all. It was actually a completely fabricated demo. And in reality, apparently the game programmers were angry at this demo. Because they said this demo is actually not representative of what the game's going to be when it's done. And we don't really like putting that out there, but they were told by management, no, this is how marketing works. You better just do what we tell you. Put this out there right now to advertise the game and stuff like that. You know, completely dishonest stuff. All right. So, this news article from Bloomberg hits. Basically, if you read it in a nutshell, what the news article said was, it's the same situation as what happened with Anthem, where the game devs didn't like what they were doing, but they were only doing what they were told by management. Management cared more about marketing and selling the game than actually making the game a good one. The game apparently in 2016 was completely remade from the ground up, which is what happens with Anthem too. If you remember with Anthem, they had made one certain game and then they were told by management, we don't want that anymore. Change the game into a looter shooter. And they're like, wait a minute, but then it's going to be just like Destiny. And they got yelled at by management. Same thing here with Cyberpunk. Up until 2016, Cyberpunk was actually a third-person RPG, which is why the game was going to have mechanics like wall running and flying around in cars and stuff. And then they said, no, make it a first-person shooter. To which they said, what? Wait a minute, we did all this work. Oh, well, scrap it all. We want it to be first-person now. So 20 game devs who worked on this game came out and talked about this in this Bloomberg article, okay? Well, this is what I just find this so hilarious. CD Projekt Red refused, or I should say, declined to contribute to the article. Said, no, we'll pass. We don't want to say anything for the article. We'll be quiet. So the article comes out. All of a sudden, one of the CD Projekt Red studio heads responds to the posted article on Twitter. Twitter. You couldn't respond officially for the article. Instead, you post up your response on Twitter after the article's already out. So we don't want to comment. Oh wait, actually we do. We're going to cherry pick certain comments and try to pretend like the article's illegitimate. All right? So the first thing that's striking about this studio head's response to the article, he literally discredits all the sources. He says, well, you know, your article is 20 people, 19 of which don't work for us anymore. And you only actually named one source in the article. Everyone else is anonymous. The project team here is 500 people. So we don't feel that 20 people who are saying these things is representative of the whole company at all. We think this is a misrepresentation. All right? Now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you work for a company, are you going to go out and cover and talk publicly in a news article negatively about your company? Don't you think you might lose your job? Like, of course this is going to be anonymous people. And of course it's not going to be everyone in the fucking company. They want to keep their jobs. So this guy's a shithead. All right? The guy's a complete shithead to even say something like that. All right? Then he actually says, I swear to God I'm not making this up. He actually says in his response to the article, well, you know, I don't think it's as bad as everyone is kind of making it out to be. Yeah, everyone who played this game on PC seems like they gave it a 9 or a 10 out of 10. So I would say that that's a pretty big success. It's like, what? What? Like, what are you talking about? Okay. Like, what are you talking about? Are you not aware your game is the first ever major AAA ranked game to be removed from the PlayStation Network store for being an incomplete piece of garbage? It was yanked from the store. Sony outright said, we're not going to allow people to buy this broken game anymore. And this idiotic studio head said his game is a success. I think now when you read that, you're like, okay, now I understand. I completely understand the disconnect between these big corporate morons and reality. All of us down here in reality who play the games and buy the games look at Cyberpunk as an utter failure. We see it as one of the most unfinished, buggy messes ever made. We feel ripped off if we paid full price for this game just to get a piece of garbage mess. But to Mr. Corporate Bigwig sitting at the top of a corporation, he actually thinks the game is a success just because it initially sold well, because of the hype around it. So here is the disconnect. All right? Here is the disconnect between reality and those who are making the big decisions when it comes to game development. It's like two different worlds. This motherfucker actually thinks his game is a success. He actually believes that. Even though all media is telling him the game is shit. Most gamers who played it are telling him it's shit. The only ones who are saying the game is even half decent are those who played the full PC version. And even then, at least 50% of people who played it on PC are saying, no, the game's not good. The other half are just basically kissing the fucking CD Projekt Red's ass. But in reality, the fact is, the game's an unfinished buggy mess no matter where you play it. And it's one of the biggest AAA flops of all time. And this guy thinks the game is this huge, massive success. He's an asshole. All right? You shouldn't have anyone like that in power, in charge of any company. Because that guy is so up his own ass. Like, seriously. They must sit, so the project management and the leadership of CD Projekt Red must sit in a boardroom all day, literally patting themselves on the fucking back. We did it, boys. Look at those sales numbers. Yeah, but your game's a piece of garbage. Everyone says it sucks. And your fucking company is lost its reputation completely because of this giant fiasco of you being terrible management. Oh, who cares? The numbers are the numbers. Keep patting the back. Keep stroking the dick. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? They don't live in reality. This guy, just reading this guy's response is like, this guy is so insulated. And that's really what it is. When you're at the top, you're insulated from everything under you. These guys are so protected. Now, the truth of the matter is, the only reason they are insulated is because the game had so much hype behind it. So if anything, the one thing that these guys were successful at was marketing. They marketed the fuck out of Cyberpunk. I mean, the game demo that was fake, the advertisement campaign and everything, people bit into it hook, line, and sinker, pre-ordered the fuck out of the game, and the game made a ridiculous amount of money because of that, but the game isn't good. It was 100% based on hype, and marketing is the reason why that game made the money it did. But who's out there buying it now? Outside of that initial wave of crazy sales, no one is going to buy that game. And in fact, with the roadmap that they provided earlier this week, remember, they had this video where they gave their roadmap. The game isn't even going to be fully functional on consoles until like the second half of this year. Then they're going to begin to work on and hopefully release these free DLCs they promised. Then it looks like we might not even have the next gen console versions of this game till the end of this year, if not even later. And who's to say that CD Projekt Red will even live up to their promises, because they never did. That's the whole problem. They never lived up to their promises in this situation. All right. Now, here's the thing. Isaac in the stream chat just said, don't you remember No Man's Sky? You moron. He calls me a moron because he's a fucking piece of shit. But no. Here's the difference between No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. This is the major difference. All right. When No Man's Sky released, it was buggy, unfinished, and it did not live up to what was promised. That is absolutely correct. And in that way, it's pretty much exactly the same as CD Projekt Red. But there's two major differences here. The first is, No Man's Sky was not made by a AAA studio, and it did not have a ridiculous record-setting amount of sales because of the marketing campaign. All right, people who bought No Man's Sky kind of knew they were taking a gamble and didn't know if they should believe that company or not, and then we all got burned for buying a game that was not as good as was promised. All right, here's the other major difference, and this is the key factor, so listen up. All right, listen up. You ready? As much as, and as critical as I was of the studio head and the game devs of No Man's Sky, that man is humble. And I forgot his name. I wish I remembered his name. The people who made No Man's Sky. That person who made the game is a humble guy. When his game came out and was unfinished, he was apologetic. He was sad. He was sorry. And Sean Murray, yes. I will commend Sean Murray, because when his game released and was a failure, he committed himself to fixing that game, and he apologized profusely. He never, I challenge you to go find tweets from this guy saying, oh, well, this or that, or passing the blame, or he didn't. You know what he did? He said, I messed up. He said, I made a big mistake, and I need to fix it. I'm really sorry that I disappointed so many people out there. And he fixed it. Over the years, he did everything he possibly could to make sure that that game would be improved. And if you take a look, he did. I mean, yeah, people say today the game's much better. Now, I played it like 2-3 years ago, and I still didn't think it was very good. But people today who play it say the game is very different. and it's much better, and they're now pleased with their purchase because the guy lived up to what he promised, because he was a humble guy. That's a truthful, honest guy. He made a mistake. He fessed up to it. He fixed it. All right? CD Projekt Red, in 1 month, okay, has done the most amount of damage control I think you could see a company do. Pass the blame. Pass the buck. It's the QA team's fault. It's this fault. It's that fault. Oh, we just didn't know. Like, every piece of bullshit I can see. You know what I haven't seen? I haven't seen one of the leads of CD Projekt Red come out and be like, I'm sorry, we fucked up. We're very humble about this. All right? Instead of sitting here on Twitter defending ourselves from Bloomberg articles with bullshit and discrediting your sources, we're just going to work on the game. That's the best thing they could do. Just shut the fuck up and work on the game. But instead, they come out with, oh my God, we got to defend ourselves because of this. It shows an insane lack of humility. And like I said, an insane disconnect from reality, from what everyone else's experiences are with their game. They actually believe their game is a huge success. That's how disconnected they are. They're so high up their own asses, basically circle jerking each other every day in this boardroom. They don't understand that their game sucks. So anyway, that's what's going on with CD Projekt Red. By the way, needless to say, this head of studios response was not well received. Everyone has slammed the living fuck out of him, saying we hate this guy now even worse than before. So, who knows what's going to happen. At this point, I'll be very honest with all of you. This is a train wreck upon train wrecks when it comes to AAA game development. I personally don't care. Oh, by the way, I did get my refund. I forgot to mention this. I did get my refund for Cyberpunk. It finally came through. It took a hell of a long time, but I finally got my Cyberpunk refund. Okay? So, will I be playing the game ever again? Likely no. Because I already played the main campaign, and it wasn't very good. It just wasn't. It was, like I told you guys, 30% of the time I was playing, I liked what I was doing, and 70% of the time I was bored to tears, and I thought the game sucked ass. So, after playing it for 40 plus hours, do I really want to go back to it later this year when they release free DLCs that'll likely play exactly the same as the stuff that we've already done in the game that I didn't like? Probably not. It probably would not be wise for me to go back and basically make myself be bored again. You know what I mean? I know what to expect from this game, and it's not anything groundbreaking or amazing. It's pretty much disappointment. So I'm likely not rebuying it. And now people are like, well, will you play the next gen version? I have no confidence the next gen version is ever going to come out and be any better than what they've already presented. I'm serious about that too. Like, I really don't feel that this company is trustworthy enough to pump out a next gen version that's going to be significantly better than the PS4 version. I wish that I could trust them, but I just don't. I just don't have any trust in these guys. So I doubt it. I think my playthrough is what it is. It's always going to be what it was, and the game's a failure in my eyes. All right, now, I don't know what'll happen here, but we'll see. Over the course of this year, of course, this story will develop. But I just don't know if I'm ever going to go back and care about it again. Okay? All right. But here's the truth. I just fucking hope this is it. Like, I don't want to hear any more. I want new game news. I want to hear about other games. I want to get excited about new games coming out this year, right? That's what I want to sit down here and be like, yes, all these other great games. I don't want to sit here and harp on Cyberpunk all day. But this is all that's been happening in game news because we're so early in the year and everything. This is the big story, the controversy that keeps just developing. Like, Jesus, will it ever end? I fucking hope so. I seriously hope sooner rather than later we're done with this Cyberpunk shit. Okay, so hopefully we're pretty much done with this. I am hoping to have other things to talk about here on stream with you guys shortly. But the bottom line is we got to get to them. They have to happen, and right now there's really nothing else going on in gaming. So, okay. All right, continuing on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do shout-outs for those who have contributed to the stream. All right, we actually start off with some overnight contributions. A couple of these are from Jack Seabath, All right, the first one is Overnight Cheer. He says, here's some ideas that I have for a throwback viewer's choice. Now remember, like I said, this is an idea I had. We're not committing to this yet, but it's possible that I will do a throwback viewer's choice style event, okay? So he says, why not either do 007 Legends or Quantum of Solace? It's 2 Bond games. Even though they may not be great games, it would be cool to see you play it alongside the release of the last Daniel Craig Bond movie, also to celebrate the memory of Sean Connery, who just passed. And I'd love to see Mercenaries 2. That's the first game you ever played that made you rage because of glitches. Oh yeah, I remember. I certainly remember, even though I didn't do a full playthrough of Mercenaries 2. I only basically just did highlight videos. That's how long ago that was. That was 2008, and that was one of the games that I actually played half drunk most of the time. Yet I still recorded, and I've highlighted all the ridiculous, because that game had so many glitches. It was absolutely out of control how many glitches that game had. It was so silly. All right, Jack Seabath here again. He says, my last ideas would be MotorStorm Apocalypse, because it was recently brought up many times on stream. You even said it's really the only game of its kind. While other racing games feel more like a sim. And then he also says it would be cool to go back to that unique style of racing for once. And also, newer viewers will learn where the I Just Want to Race song comes from. It's true. Well, those are some good suggestions, I would say. Thank you for those. Again, everyone, please think about this. Would we rather do a themed viewer's choice, since it would have us focus in on things and make it a little bit easier to maybe pick some games to, to suggest. So, all right, thank you for those suggestions. I appreciate that, Jack Seabath. Golden Colts also did an overnight cheer, and he said, what are your thoughts on hamburger helper meals that you combine with brown beef and milk? Are they based, or are they Reddit? Are they Reddit? Are we actually using that as like a word now instead of, what it is? We're using it as like an adjective or something? Are they Reddit? All right. My take on hamburger helper. I've had it before. My mom made it many times. I've had it a few times here myself. I don't like it that much. I think that hamburger helper, if you want to make an incredibly quick meal, you don't have time to be boiling pasta or anything separately. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a lot of time to make a meal, and you want to make something incredibly quickly with little to no, cleanup. That's hamburger helper. Toss the meat into a pan, brown it, toss the noodles and sauce in, mix it up, you're done. There's your dinner. But hamburger helper is incredibly greasy. Like, I remember eating it, and it's like, oh my God. Like, first of all, it's full of salt. It is 100% salty as shit. All right? Every single one. There's not a single hamburger helper that's not full of sodium. And then on top of that, a lot of them have a lot of cheese. All right? Ugh. Some of the best ones don't have cheese. They try to simulate like Italian. But even then, they're not even close to being real Italian. I mean, there's not much you could do with all dehydrated ingredients and dry noodles mixed with, fatty meat that you stir-fried. I'm not hating on it. Again, if you're looking for something fast to make because you don't have time to make something better, there's nothing wrong with hamburger helper. But at the same time, if you have an option to make something fresher or better, you absolutely should. I would not recommend hamburger helper being something regular that your family eats. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, okay, once every couple of weeks we have a night we just can't make a good meal. We have no time. Hamburger helper night, right? But this should not be something you eat all the time. Okay. So that's my thoughts on hamburger helper. Liza Versoul is here and did a 100-bit cheer, and this actually was during the stream actually running here. So this one actually counts as the first official cheer of the day, and he says, heavy rain for viewer's choice. Well, here's the thing, Liza Versoul. I mean, I would entertain that. Problem is, I did actually just replay it a few years ago. I remember replaying it. I want to say it was like 2016, maybe. I can't exactly remember the year, but it was definitely a few years ago. And it was with a live audience. I don't believe it was with a full interactive audience, but it was still with a live audience. It was direct capture. I don't feel like the Heavy Rain playthrough would be much different from my existing Heavy Rain playthrough. I think it would be very similar to the last one. So I don't necessarily know if that's something that I would want to do again. Although, again, if it's something that people nominated, I would still have it in the running. But So I guess we'll see. All right. Then again, that is true. So here's the thing. If I did play it in 2016, then it wouldn't be eligible because I just played it. This has to be a game that I have not played since, 2015 or older. So if I did replay Heavy Rain in 2016, then it would not be eligible for this event. That's true. Okay. Alrighty then. Ace A cheered. He says, I started a YouTube channel and I received a few copyright ID claims because I spoke over movie trailers, but there was no sound in those trailers. Do the claims make sense? When what I'm doing be fair use? It's a gray area, Ace A. In a nutshell, allow me to explain fair use. Fair use is basically a legal defense that says you have the right to use content that is definitely not yours because you are only using it in a limited capacity for commentary, criticism, review, or a few other purposes. Okay? Or the other defense for fair use is that what you did with said content that is, again, not legally yours, made it a transformative work, which means that what you did transformed that work into something completely different from what originally was intended, to the point where it's not even recognizable as the original work. And then in a legal sense, it really isn't reflective of the original property. It's yours now. Okay? Now, the thing is, with fair use in YouTube, it very rarely ever goes to court. So we don't really have legal rulings or standings on exactly what would be considered fair use. Because, for example, let's say you take a movie trailer for a new movie. Let's say, what's a movie that's coming out soon? King Kong versus Godzilla? Or is it Godzilla versus King Kong? I don't know the order. Let's say for that movie coming out, you take the trailer for it, and you decide you want to do commentary over the trailer, frame by frame, and give your criticisms and commentary on this movie coming out. Okay? Great, you can do that. However, here's the thing. Likely what'll happen is the movie studio will just load the trailer into YouTube, into their content ID match algorithm system, and say, if anyone uses our trailer without our permission, immediately strike them down. Or immediately claim their content so that they can't use it. Or whatever. That is what I mean. They'll just say, claim it. And what happens is, bloop, auto claim. There's no one manually looking at this shit. It just immediately will get claimed, and your video will either get hidden, or you'll get a content ID match, and then you lose revenue on that video. There's a million things that could happen. The video could get blocked. You could actually get a legit copyright strike. It all depends on the situation. Okay? Now, the truth of the matter is, that's not legal. It's not. You can't just blanket claim shit because of things like fair use law. It's not legal to do that, but guess what? YouTube doesn't care. YouTube's thought is, we just need to protect our own ass. So if a company tells us someone is illegally using their stuff, we will just give them the benefit of the doubt and kind of, strike it down so that we don't get held legally responsible that someone stole content. Now, what they do is they put the burden of defense on you, the content creator, to prove that you didn't steal stuff. Now, actually, that's not true, because that's what should happen. But what really happens is thus. All you need to do is counterclaim it. Say, oh, guess what? I think this was misidentified. Or I don't feel this should have been claimed because it's fair use. And all YouTube will do is they will send the response back to the original claimant, whoever it may be, whatever movie studio it is or whatever. And now the movie studio needs to determine, is this big enough of a theft of our IP or property, such an egregious theft, that we want to actually sue this person? And if they determine yes, then your content will be down permanently and likely you'll receive a full-on copyright strike. If they determine, nah, it ain't worth it, who cares, this is just a Joe Schmo guy getting 10 views on a video, then they'll just give it up, all right? But the truth is that there's no real legal proceeding happening on YouTube. They're just a middleman bouncing back and forth notices. That's it, okay? Now, in regards to fair use, what would have to actually happen here, legally, is that the company would have to sue you. It would go to court. In a court of law, lawyers would have to duke it out, arguing fair use. And likely what a lawyer would say in your defense is, well, take a look. This person is either creating a transformative work because they're talking over it and they're giving commentary and criticism, and therefore that's not the original work, okay? Or the other thing that would have to happen is they would have to argue you're not using 100% of the content, and therefore you didn't steal the whole thing. Oh, you see, this person only used 20% of the actual movie trailer and commented over it, so therefore they're not showing the unedited original work, and therefore you can't sue my client because this is frivolous. This is not what you're saying it is, you see? So that's what would happen in the court of law. But it's never gone to that. That's what I mean. Like, it's never gone that far. No one's taken it so seriously that they're like, oh, you know, we're going to sue someone over this shit. So even though you can argue fair use, and even though that company who owns the trailer rights could argue, oh, that's copyright infringement, they stole our property, DMCA, take it down, there's really no leg to stand on either way because it's never gone to court. There's been zero hashed out legal battles about this kind of stuff. Let's plays in general are all covered under this, where the gamers playing the games are claiming this is fair use because either we're using a percentage of your product or it's a transformative work, while a company claiming it might claim, well, we own the game, so there you go. But you notice there's no corporate, no one's getting sued over this. In fact, it's just kind of allowed to happen because the game developers feel this is free advertisement for their games, and it's great because it's marketing that they're not paying for, right? So there really is no answer to your question, Ace. There's no definitive answer unless it actually ever goes to court. There's no way to tell if what you did is legal or not. You know, even if a legal expert were to sit and analyze your video frame by frame, it means nothing until it goes to court. So there you go. It sucks. It sucks that you got, you know, if it was a takedown notice or whatever it was, or content ID, it really sucks. But that's just how YouTube works. YouTube literally doesn't care about the actual law. All they do is they put automated systems in place to protect their own ass so they can't get sued. So as long as they're not getting sued, they don't care if anything is actually legal or not. And that's the bottom line. Golden Colts Charity says, do you like garbanzo beans or chickpeas? Not a big fan of either. I've had them in dishes, but I've never really eaten them exclusively, nor do I feel that they're like like the star of a dish or anything like that. So, not really. Lives for Soul Charity says, Resident Evil 5 could be a good choice, mainly on the fact that maybe you could do co-op with a fan. No, I don't think Resident Evil 5 would be eligible. Didn't I replay it in... Well, then again, I'm not sure. When did I replay Resident Evil 5? You'd have to go back and look. Because I know I replayed it as part of the HD collections. And I don't remember when I played it. But I remember playing it. So we'd have to go back and look at the dates on that. Snow Carl cheer. Oh, by the way, Lives for Soul, that's the top cheer of the day, 145 bits. Let's update that. There we go. Okay, Snow Carl cheer. Says, Phil, you could clarify the Divinity 2 meme. I wasn't around. I assume people were memeing it like Code Vein, and people are saying so many different things. I don't want to believe lies. What are you talking about? Divinity Original Sin 2 will be played this year. It has to be played. It was a viewer's choice winner from last year. But the timing was terrible. People picked it when I was still playing Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I still had to finish it, which took another 2 months. Then when I finished Fire Emblem, we headed into the new console launch, and then right into Yakuza 7, so there was no way I could play it right away. So once Yakuza 7 completes, which is likely within the next week, then we can look to get Divinity Original Sin into the lineup. Okay? All right. Tarantula MS 2018 tipped me $4.20. Said, did you ever beat the Longui Adamantoise in Final Fantasy 13? It took me about 4 hours in total to beat him. This game certainly has some difficult bosses towards the end. I have no idea. If you mean Final Fantasy 15, yes, I remember beating it. The giant boss. Remember, it looks like a mountain. It's not. It's actually a boss. That was pretty crazy. If it was in Final Fantasy 13... I have no recollection. I seriously doubt that I did it. If it was that long of a fight, I seriously doubt that I did it. Because that playthrough already, you know, for my playthroughs back then, that playthrough was super long. So I strongly doubt that I went back and fought a boss that was that difficult in Final Fantasy 13. So. Okay. Local Nomad did 111-bit cheers. Hello, Phil. Any advice for managing my backlog of games? I'm a sucker for sales and tentative to buy a new release because my library is full of untouched games. What I would say is don't miss out on a hot new game that you know is going to be good. But at the same time, if you have a bunch of untouched games, think of that as a fun resource that you don't have to spend money on, right? That's cool. I don't know what to tell you, though, and what order to play them. That's your own personal preference. But don't go crazy and, you know, end up with 20 games you own and you'll never get to play. You know, that'd be pretty crazy. Okay? Snow Carl Cheers says, well, to be fair, Phil, Bloomberg was fined $10 million last year because they printed fake news that tanked the company's shares. They aren't reliable. That's great. What does that have to do with this current article? And by the way, is anything that you're talking about have to do with their video game coverage, or does it have something to do with completely unrelated? Which is what I get the feeling it is. So, it's like apples to oranges here. Westside Rascal did a 100-bit cheer and said they're the guys who just don't get reality. And if you're talking about, like, what you're saying, the CEOs of these companies, people in charge, yep, because they're disconnected from it. When you're at the top of the food chain of any major company, you are usually rich, and you usually are just in another world. Your world is not the world of the common gamer, yet that's where you need to be. That's where you should be, is at line level understanding what the common gamer is saying. But instead, these guys say, oh, well, on PC, it was rated 9 out of 10. It's like, you're a fucking idiot. The game is one of the biggest flops, most panned games ever. And you're going to kiss his butt? Like, you're so dumb. But that's how they live. A. Anderson06 resubscribed for 4 months and says, when is the biographical game about Darkseid Phil coming out? Never. Robot Wizard Cheers says, was the refund of Cyberpunk verified through PayPal? No, because it was through my bank account, so it just refunded to my bank account. Jetros Main Cheers says, I'll keep vouching for a redemption run for Metal Gear Solid 1 for viewer's choice. Your first run was the video game equivalent of sadness. It'll bring in tons of attention for you, too. Yeah, but is it the right kind of attention is the question, right? What kind of attention exactly would it bring in? Probably not the right kind, and not necessarily a good thing. Benzuko Lives tipped me $3. Thank you, Benzuko Lives, for the $3 tip. Appreciate that. You're only the second tipper of the day. Get right up there, added to the tips total. Thank you for that. Sir Spartan King cheered and said, you played Resident Evil 5 July 2016. Well, there you go. That means Resident Evil 5 would not be eligible for this upcoming retro replay viewer's choice because I played it in 2016. I said the rules are, it's gotta be before 2016, so it would not be eligible. There you go. See, this. I'm really glad we laid out the criteria like that because it makes it clear. It makes it clear. It's got to be an older playthrough. That way it'll feel like a fresh playthrough. See that? See that? Alrighty then. Alright. Continuing on. Ribley Atomic has cheers said, would a Fallout New Vegas playthrough be allowed in the viewer's choice? Also high. Good question. When was my last playthrough of Fallout New Vegas? I don't know. We'd have to look that up. No, it has to be before 2016 is what I said. If I said something else, I misspoke. I said this yesterday. The criteria has to be before 2016. Anything that's 2016 or later is not eligible for this event. Okay? I know my original playthrough of Fallout New Vegas was a long time ago, probably like 2010. But I don't remember when the second playthrough happened, because I did do a second one. I don't remember. Anyway, the answer would be, depending on when that second playthrough was, and I don't remember when the second playthrough was. So, okay. Dark Anakin 1985 resub for 16 months and said 16 fantastic months. Thank you, Dark Anakin. I appreciate the resub. Oh my god, excuse me. I appreciate the resub. Thank you for the support. Sorry for the disgusting belch. Just happens sometimes. Ribley Atomic Cheers said it was 2010. No, 2010 was the original game. But I did do a second run of it. I know for a fact I did another run of it years later where I did all the DLCs. So, I don't, again, depending on when that was, that would determine if it would be eligible or not. And I don't remember when that was. So, okay. Let us now do shout-outs. Now, by the way, let's do shout-outs for the top cheers of the week. However, I should call this out, all right? I should call this out. Today's Sunday. That means, ladies and gentlemen, that means this is the last day of the week for contributions to count on the leaderboards for this week. All right? The way Twitch works, they say that Sunday is the last day of the week, and on Monday, everything resets. All right? Everything. So, if you want to contribute and you want to get in on the festivities here and get into the leaderboards for top cheerer or top sub gifter of the week, today is the day to do it because tomorrow it resets back to 0. Okay? So just calling that out there. All right, guys. Let's do it. So, thank you to the following people who contributed via cheering this week. We have a tie for 9th place between Westside Phil and Timbo Slice GB. In 8th place, it's Ripley Atomic. 7th place, Eddie Bot. 6th place, Sir Spartan King. 5th place, Ultra Vegito. 4th place, Ninstar Room. 3rd place, Nathan Tools. 2nd place, Rob on Wheels. And in 1st place for this week, it is Lizaver Soul. So thank you again to those who cheered this week. It is much appreciated. Now, thank you to those of you who gifted subscriptions this week. Boy, was it a great week for gifted subs, which is why we hit the Viewer's Choice goal to begin with. All right? Thanks to those who gifted a single sub to the channel this week, which includes, it's not limited to, but it includes the following people: Standy Pants, Kate, Oldham McLeod 7, Eddie Bot, and R. Breezy. Thank you to those of you who gifted 2 subscriptions to the channel this week, including Marita Lucina and Angelo Bestia. Thank you to Golden Nobles, who gifted 3 subs. Thank you to No Couture, who gifted 5 subscriptions. And thank you to Westside Phil, who gifted a very humble 169 subscriptions to the channel this week, which is the reason, major reason, why we hit the goal for the month, which is that Viewer's Choice event. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the contributions. It is time for a break for me to use the restroom and then get the game booted and get going. I recommend you take a quick break here as well. All right? When I come back, it's Yakuza 7 Endgame. Like I said, what we're going to be doing is heading into the optional dungeon for a while, doing that, and then seeing how much time we have left on the stream to do other optional side content. There will be no story developments today, but it should be a good time. Guitar Player 1939 now cheered. 510 bits. Thank you very much for that. Now, what does he have to say? He says the following. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure the Series X is the only console with no launch games. I'm pretty sure you played Fallout New Vegas in 2016. So there you go. If you mean no games that are exclusive to the console at launch, you may be correct. Don't quote me on that, because obviously I don't have the data here. But you likely would be correct in that regard, because most consoles do have exclusive games at launch, and there was zero exclusive games for Xbox Series X or S at launch. 0. Thank you for the biggest cheer of the day, Guitar Player. All right. I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. Thank you. See you in a bit.